this one today, we are truly going back to our roots. Many of you will know, before we were All Sorts ASMR, we were Whispers Football, and that was what the channel started as. And I think there are still a few of you who are somehow still lingering from the olden days. So as you can tell, today I've got a bit of a football ramble, story time type video, as you can see in the thumbnail. And now I am wearing the kit. This is the third kit of my team, which is Ipswich Town, which, for those of you who are tuned into football, will know recently secured promotion to the Premier League over the weekend. So I really wanted to sit down and talk about it, but not just that, but talk about the games I've been to this season, as I've been to a fair few, and basically just have a nice ramble, reminisce about this football season that's gone by, because it's been truly mental and unforgettable. So I've also got a little coffee, if I can pick it up without making too much noise, in an Ipswich mug. We're going full blues for this video. I was feeling bougie, so I frothed up some coffee, some milk, I mean. It's really hot in this room, so if I get progressively more sweaty throughout, I apologise. But I think, firstly, we'll start off by talking briefly about the weekend, about the promotion, before looking backwards and going back through all the games and various experiences that I've had this season supporting Ipswich. But to cut it short, Saturday was one of the best days of my life. I mean, coming into it needing just a point, everyone thought we were going to do it, but there was still a handful of Ipswich fans, myself included, who were still a little bit sceptical that we still needed to, get it done. And thankfully we did. And I really don't think it's truly sunk in yet that we're a Premier League team. We are going to be playing in one of, if not probably the best league in the world next season, where 2 seasons ago we were in League One. It's absolutely crazy, and I'll talk a little bit later about, the sort of trajectory of the club and the transformation, why things have gone so well for us, because we really are on just a crazy upward trajectory. And I'll put some clips if I can, throughout this video when I'm talking about the games, I'll overlay some clips. It won't be my footage because I don't take too many videos when I go to games, although the latter games there will be my own footage from when I went on the pitch, but more of that later. But I'll be sure to credit everybody whose footage I use. But yeah, it just to do the back-to-back is just amazing. We obviously have one of, if not the best young manager, in the country right now. So that obviously feels pretty nice, and it's honestly just been an incredible season, and I think it will only probably settle in when, our first Premier League game, kicks off next season, and I will think, wow, we're actually here. It's just totally bonkers. So what I'm gonna do now is load up Footballogy, which, for those of you that don't know, is an app where you can essentially track the matches that you've been to. So if I load up my matches, lovely. Okay. So for those of you that don't know, I don't live in Ipswich. I am from Northampton, and I now live a little bit nearer, but it's still like an hour and 20-minute drive away, so I don't have a season ticket. Wish I did get one. Because, I mean, frankly, we've never got them before, because one, I've lived too far away, and two, I have never had that money. Whereas now, a little bit more disposable income being in a steady job. So yeah, don't go to every game. I believe out of the 46 league games this year, I have been to 19. And I think I've been to 4 Sheffield United games as well, because that's who my fiance supports. But yeah, I support Ipswich because my mum was born there and my granddad lived there his whole life. That I knew him, and he had a season ticket there, so going to visit him would always be synonymous with going to an Ipswich game, and yeah, it's just been deep rooted in my family for forever, kind of thing. So the first game that I went to was a home win against Stoke, which finished 2-0, which I think it might have been our first home game of the season, potentially even our first, the first game of the season was against Sunderland, which we won 2-1. I unfortunately couldn't go to that because I was at GoFest down in London. But yeah, the Stoke game was our first home game, and I remember thinking it was pretty easy, to be honest. I think this was before Stoke got poached Schumacher from Plymouth. And yeah, it was 1-0 for like a really long time, and then Caden Jackson, who is our longest serving player, popped up with a goal towards the end. But I just remember how sunny and hot it was that day. I remember sitting lower cobbled, which the cobbled stand is sort of our preferred place to sit / stand. If we're sitting, we'll go lower. If we're standing, we'll go upper. Often in the singing section. But yeah, and then having said that, the next game I went to was an absolute cracker that finished Ipswich Town 4, Blackburn Rovers 3. I think we went 1-0 up, then it went 1-1, then at half time we were 3-1 up, and then Blackburn brought it back to 3-all, and then Luongo scored the winner about 10 minutes from time, I think. It was an absolute beauty. If I can find footage, I'll put it here. Lovely volley. But for this game, we were actually stood behind the goal in Sir Bobby Lower, which I used to do a fair bit when I came to games, but kind of moved more to the cobbled stand now. But yeah, I remember that game was so unbelievably hot as well. But yeah, I think at this point we were on like a really nice run and potentially hadn't lost yet. I can't remember if this was before or after the Leeds game, which was our first loss. I think it was before, so things were going well, but I think at this stage most Ipswich fans, just thought, like, it's kind of like teams don't know how to play against us kind of thing, or came into games, expecting to win a little bit because, we're the newly promoted team, we're going to be a walkover, blah blah blah. And obviously as the season panned out, there were other reasons, different to just thinking they're going to beat us, that were why we were winning and did win so many games. But yeah, that was a super exciting one. Oh, actually, I missed one because I'm going the wrong way. So that game was on the Saturday, but on the Tuesday before, I actually booked a holiday day off work. On the Wednesday, yeah. Because, or was it Tuesday? I might have booked off 2 days actually. Travelled down from essentially in the Midlands in England down to Southampton for Southampton away. And Southampton obviously finished 4th, but at this point in the season they really hadn't clicked yet. I think they were pretty near the bottom, so we played them at at a decent time. And I remember thinking this game was relatively easy as well. But basically, I travelled down. I have a friend from uni who lives basically near Portsmouth, and he is a Portsmouth fan, so he leapt at the opportunity to potentially see a team beat rival Southampton. And that game finished 1-0 thanks to what I believe was Amari Hutchinson's first goal for the club. I think it might have been his first or second start of the season. And that goal came in the first half, and then in the second half, I don't think we had too many chances, but I don't ever really remember feeling nervous. But I was pretty battered come full time, so maybe that was why. But yeah, lovely stadium. Was really nice to tick off a new ground, and I think Southampton away as my first away game for the season was a pretty good one. So yes, then we had the Blackburn game. Then this is not to do with Ipswich, but the day after the Blackburn game on the Saturday, I actually went to Sheffield United to watch them play Newcastle. And spoiler, Newcastle won 8-0. So that was a fun one. Okay, didn't get to a game for around a month after then, because again, many people know, in May, me and my partner moved into this house, our first home together, and a lot needed doing. So frankly, throughout 2023, there were a lot of weekends where we just needed to be at home and do jobs around the house and work on it. As much as I would have loved to have travelled up and down the country every weekend, it's simply wouldn't have been practical. So the next game I went to was a home game to Plymouth Argyle, and that finished 3-2 to Ipswich. I'm really pleased that Plymouth stayed up. I think Plymouth and Ipswich last season in League One were by far so much better than all the other teams in that league, to be honest. Footballing wise, Plymouth and Ipswich played by far the most attractive football. I know Wednesday were up there, but they weren't like a lovely team to watch. They were just efficient at what they did. They knew how to get results. But Ipswich and Plymouth definitely by far the best two teams, and this season Plymouth definitely got snaked big time by Schumacher, but thankfully they were able to beat Hull at the weekend and stay up, which I'm pleased about. But yeah, we won this game 3-2. Probably the sweetest moment in this was Ballymumba scoring an awful own goal. That was nice because he's a Norwich boy. I think it was 3-1 for ages, and then they got one very late on, but thankfully it didn't affect the outcome of the game. So, and then the weekend after, I went to my second away game of the season, which was a little trip for my birthday. Went to lovely Birmingham, which I've been to Birmingham quite a few times. Got a friend who lives there, and bit living in Northampton. If you wanted to go shopping in a nice place but didn't want to go shopping in London, you would go to Birmingham. But we made a day of it. We went to Turtle Bay before and had a load of cocktails and stuff, because we were getting the train to and from Birmingham, so I wasn't driving, which was nice. A lot of the time I opt to drive, so I don't drink when I go to the football. And this game finished Birmingham City 2, Ipswich 2. To be honest, thinking back to it, I really don't know how we got a point from this game. It was when Birmingham had Rooney, and I was actually pretty impressed with them, to be honest. And they went 2-0 up, and then we made 3 or 4 substitutions at once, and one of those, Marcus Arness, one of the most beautiful men on the planet, popped up with 2 goals, and one of them was a beautiful volley, one of those ones that's up in the air for what feels like, an eternity, and then on the spin volleyed it into the bottom corner. It was really nice. And when you get a point after being 2-0 down, it feels like a win. And that was had instances in that season where it became apparent that this Ipswich team doesn't know when it's beat. Over the course of this season, we have got so many late winners, equalisers and stuff, because I think it's one, a belief thing, and two, a fitness thing. I think that the squad fitness levels are just off the chain, so they'll still be sprinting in the 90th minute to like salvage games or to edge the game in our favour. So yeah, that finished 2-2, and I remember getting so unbelievably hot and sweaty running for the train, because otherwise we would have had to wait an hour. So that finished 2-2. Then I didn't get to a game until the 2nd of December, but that was another home game. That was against Coventry City, in which the game finished 2-1. I think the one Coventry goal was like the last kick of the game, and it was a Brandon Williams own goal. But yeah, I was really pleased with this win, because Coventry obviously got to the playoff finals last year, and are just a really, really good side under Mark Robbins, and they've got some very, very talented players. I would very much like to sign Ben Sheaf in the summer. Sorry, Coventry fans, but I've always had a fondness for Coventry. We've got close family friends who support them, and I think that's why. And I always want to see them do well. Then, 10 days later, a lovely Tuesday night under the lights in Watford. Again, a stadium that I had never been to before. So I was happy to go with my mum to tick this off. That's another thing. So with the Birmingham game, it was me and my girlfriend who went, but for the majority of games, I go with my mum, who's a die-hard Ipswich fan. And I think that's one of the things that has just been so nice this year. Obviously, I'm moved out properly now, so going to these games on a Saturday is kind of like a nice way to, you know, reconnect with mum and basically just catch up and spend some quality time, just us two, because I'm one of 5 kids. So even when I was at home, it's kind of a crazy atmosphere. And this finished 2-1 to Ipswich, thanks to a lovely, fairly late winner from our captain Sam Morsey. I remember this game. It was like Morsey had to avoid a yellow to. If he got a yellow, he would have missed like the next 2 games, which included Norwich and Leeds, or Norwich and Leicester, maybe. And he did, and he scored the winner. And the way he kind of celebrated was kind of like, come on, I was always going to play, because there was this debate, like a lot of fans believed McKenna should have just rested him to avoid the risk, because our Sammy does love a card. But he avoided it, and he got the winner, so happy days. And then the following weekend was the first East Anglian derby in a long, long time. Yeah, this game finished 2-2. It was a bit of a funny game, really. I think we went 1-0 up, then it went 2-1 Norwich, thanks to 2 Johnny Rowe goals. What a player, by the way. And then West Burns equalised, and then the game kind of just drifted. I feel like that game Ipswich were definitely more nervous than Norwich, fans and players, to be honest. Sorry, my laptop is going to stop recording, please don't. Thank you. So I think in a sense, like, we definitely bottled that. We definitely bottled the one later in the season. But you know, Norwich were doing pretty well. At point it was okay. But it did kind of start like one of our rough patches where we drew a load of silly games, like at home to QPR, and managed to get a draw with Leicester on Boxing Day, but we didn't win for like quite a few games after this one. Little story time from this Ipswich Norwich game. It was a 12:30 kickoff, and I made the stupid decision not to eat anything before the game. I thought, no, it's fine, it will be finished by half 2, we'll go have a big lunch then. And I'd driven to Ipswich. And So rather than having a beer, I thought, you know what, let's get the caffeine flowing in my veins to really get the adrenaline pumping. So I got a flat white in the fan zone with an extra shot of coffee. And I kid you not, I think it was a mix of the coffee, their lack of eating, and the just sheer adrenaline and nerves. But when the game started, I genuinely thought I was having a heart attack. Like, I literally had to be, I literally grabbed Mum and I was like, Mum, I'm not even pissing about, like, I'm in trouble here. Literally, like, my heart felt like it was like, I don't know, like there was this pressure on it, and like I couldn't catch my breath, and I had to like lean back and sit like on my chair, and just like, thankfully it passed after about 5 minutes, but there was literally a period where I thought, I'm done it. This is how I go, a flat white. But I guess I would have died, you know, with what I loved in my belly, I guess. So yeah, that was probably the most memorable part of that day. But the atmosphere before was amazing and stuff. But I think a lot of Ipswich fans expected to win. The next game I went to was on the 1st of January, New Year's Day, away to Stoke, and this is the one game I wish I didn't go to this season. Finished 0-0, and oh my gosh, it was so boring. It was so boring. The atmosphere in the away end was terrible. I think everyone was obviously just like very hungover and whatnot, and the players looked like they were hungover as well. Definitely a game to forget. Then 3 weeks later, on the 22nd of Jan, I believe this was a Monday night game, was Leicester away. Now, I'd been to Leicester away years and years ago. I think in the season they got promoted from the Championship into the Prem for the first time or whatever. Not the first time, but you know what I mean. When they had like Vardy and Ulloa and players like that. And this game, first half, Leicester really dominated us, went 1-0 up, and we really hung in there. And then second half, I think a mix of McKenna's motivation and Maresca's poor tactical management allowed us to come into the game, and Leicester still had chances and played pretty well, but I was really not that impressed with Leicester in both games, to be honest, and across the season as a whole. I think they've really just built like a team of absolute superstars. I think Maresca's actually not that good a manager. I think footballing wise, you look at teams, I would say the way I would look at the top four this season was Ipswich and Southampton were probably the best coached in the league. But then Leeds and Leicester just had so many players that could take a game by the scruff of the neck and just pull out something unbelievable, like Somerville or Rutter for Leeds, and then you've got Mavididi and Fatawu for Leicester, which both ways work, don't they? Evidently, Leicester won the league and we came second, so it's like shows that both methods are equally effective. But yeah, we came into the game, lots of good chances, and then at like the 88th or 89th minute, new signing, January signing, Jeremy Sarmiento, popped up with an equaliser after a Luongo shot from outside of the box, and it was unbelievable. And I remember for the remainder of the game and all after the game, we were singing his song, which goes, he's magic, you know, Jeremy Sarmiento. And one thing I remember from that game was, as we were singing it, everyone was jumping, but you could like feel the concrete underneath the seats literally wobbling and moving. Like, it was crazy. It didn't feel overly safe, but I'm sure it was. But yeah, that was a good away point, that's for sure. Next game was a 2-2 draw at home to West Brom, which we were 2-1 down, and Amari Hutchinson popped up with a late equaliser, which was lovely. Then 4 days later was a Wednesday or Tuesday night game away to Millwall. I think I just stayed in London after work and met my partner in London for some food, and then we went to the game to Millwall. I had never been time. It was just like a very easy game, to be honest. Then we move on to the 9th of March. Won't do much on this next one because it was my first and only loss that I watched this season, away to Cardiff. I think I spoke about this briefly before in another ramble, but yeah, me and my partner built a weekend away in Bristol and Cardiff around this game, so at the time it didn't really sting all that much because we were doing loads of fun things and drinking and stuff like that, so it just felt like a annoying footnote on what was otherwise a lovely weekend. But yeah, we were 1-0 up in the 93rd minute and lost 2-1, which, to be honest, neither team deserved to win that game. We were awful, we were so bad. But fair play to Cardiff, the scenes when they scored were amazing. But then we bounced back. Next week, I was at the home game to Sheffield Wednesday. Obviously, we were battling against last season for promotion, and we won 6-0. Danny Roll was as you know, he did a remarkable job keeping Wednesday up after the start they had. But the way he set that Wednesday up was literally suicidal against Ipswich. Like they were like defending in like a 4-2-4. So then once we just bypassed the 4, it was literally like we had an overload on the attack every time, and it was just, yeah, it was ridiculous. So yeah, that was lovely. That one finished 6-0. Then we have by far my favourite game of the season, the home game to Southampton. And after this game, this was when I really started thinking, oh my gosh, we're going to do this. We are actually going to do this, because up until this point I kind of just always expected us to drop off and just fall into those playoffs. But when we won this game, I was like, okay, no, this is, automatics are on. So this game we went 1-0 up thanks to an absolute corker from Leif Davis. But then in sort of a blink of an eye we were 2-1 behind, and let me tell you, for the first hour of the game, Southampton absolutely blew us off the park. They were by far the best team I'd watched this season. The way they moved the ball with intent and just controlled the game, well, it was just incredible. But then around 60 minutes something shifted, and all of a sudden it was like we wanted to play again. And Ahmadi hit the post from a chance he kind of made by himself, and that got the crowd going. And then really we just never looked back, and we always from that moment on looked like getting at least a point, and I would have been happy with a point. So Broadhead, all reliable, equalised with a pretty nice goal that I thought that the keeper maybe should have done a bit better with. And then in like the 98th minute of like 7 added on, with literally the last kick of the game, that man Jeremy Sarmiento, he fell over and then somehow stabbed it into the bottom corner, and these were some of the best, most unbelievable scenes, limbs, whatever you call it, that I'd ever had the privilege of being a part of. It was genuinely incredible. And we went for a 5 guys after, and I remember just sitting there in silence trying to like process and compute like what on earth had just happened. It really was a crazy game, and I'm glad we won it, obviously. Then my next game was at home to Middlesbrough, which was a 1-1 draw. We just drawn 0-0 to Watford at home as well. And after that draw, a few people were starting to think, like we were looking over our shoulders a little bit, and it sort of opened the door for Leeds to get that second spot back again. But I was kind of pretty happy with a point, because coming into this, Middlesbrough were definitely the informed team. One of the most informed teams in the league, and honestly I think if they can keep their squad and bolster a little bit in the summer, they're up there for me for favourites to get top 2. Like Carragher said he's staying, I think, and they're a really good team, a really good team. Kind of similar style to Ipswich in terms passing football, but yeah, that game finished 1-1. And then, pretty recently, that brings us to not last weekend, but the weekend before, I was in lovely Hull. And I say lovely ironically. Look, if you're from Hull, I apologise. I probably didn't explore the town quite enough and whatnot. But essentially, the town centre is really not very nice. We did, however, go for a lovely meal at a Brazilian Radizio, I think they're called, where they literally just bring meat to your table. It's amazing. And then we went for a few drinks, and then because it was an 8 o'clock kickoff, and I'd driven up, so I say drinks. I had one beer. And this game was a very, very exciting game. Hull kind of fighting for that last playoff spot, and have really a fantastic team. Fabio Carvalho, Philogene, Jacob Greaves. Great team, and it's really a travesty that they didn't get playoffs with that squad. That's probably why they've sacked Liam Senior. But yeah, this game we led 3 times, but it finished 3-3. But I think, to be honest, a draw was probably fair. We probably had the chances to win the game, but I'm a firm believer if you don't take all your chances, then you don't deserve to win the game. End of. But Amari Hutchinson, by this point, he had truly come alive. He is by far the most improved player this season, on loan from Chelsea. Man, I would love to sign him permanently. I reckon he'd probably be about 20 million though. I reckon Chelsea will part ways with him just due to financial fair play or whatever. But he is just absolutely magic. And when he first came, he was very raw, could do some good skills, but his end product was so bad. And then fast forward to this game, he was scoring 2 screamers from outside the box, and putting in just a ridiculous performance after ridiculous performance. And he became undroppable, and he played basically every minute of every game for the last 10 games or something. So yeah, point not the worst result, but basically because Leeds had lost 4-0 to QPR. Cheers lads, by the way. We literally needed, I think it was a win, I think it was 5 points, a win and 2 draws, or 2 wins, whatever. So that draw wasn't the worst thing in the world. So then going into Coventry midweek, and then the Huddersfield game at home, we just needed a win and a draw. So going into the Coventry game, which I went to midweek, we went 1-0 up, and then annoyingly it went 1-1, which I don't really think Coventry deserved. Coventry kind of played like a team that weren't playing for anything, and knew they couldn't get playoffs and whatnot. And then 5 minutes later, Cameron Burgess popped up with a goal to give us a 2-1 lead, which we thankfully held on for. And it was at that final whistle, the celebrations in the away end were amazing, and everyone was sort of just looking around being like, we've basically done it, this is mental. Because I think even going into that last 3 games, Town fans were sort of pinch me, and still just expected us to somehow, by some miracle, not do it. But winning that Coventry game, which that away end was one of the best atmospheres all season, we sung literally all game, even when it was 1-1. It was just awesome. So then, that brings us finally to last Saturday, the 4th of May, the last game of the season against Huddersfield Town, which we only needed a point to secure promotion to the Premier League. And we of course won 2-0. Honestly, a very, very easy game. And honestly, after Hutchinson scored our 2nd goal, I don't really remember too much of the rest of it, because I think everyone was just really eagerly waiting, to get on that pitch and and celebrate the promotion. And wow, just honestly, what an experience. So that final whistle went, and I helped my mum over the bless her, over the barrier and onto the pitch. But then I kind of just sprinted off, made straight for like where the majority of players were, and created some amazing memories because I managed to basically get right in the thick of it. I'll put some videos on screen now. Well, to start with, I didn't record anything because I literally just wanted to enjoy it. Grabbed Harry Clark and gave him a hug, and I think I kissed him on the cheek and just said thank you so much, like you're a fucking legend kind of thing. He was crying because he, for those of you that don't know, Harry Clark is an Ipswich boy basically, and helped us do an amazing thing. And then I feel someone pushing past me on my left, and it's George Edmondson, so I give him a hug and I help him get on somebody's shoulders. I do the same with Sarmiento, helped him get on somebody's shoulders. Duan Sebi, Al Hamidi was leading a lot of the chanting as well. Kieran Slicker, shout out Kieran Slicker, he's our third keeper, but he was absolutely loving it, loving the celebrations. Who else? Oh, Wolfie, I gave Wolfie a hug and a high five or whatever, and it was just crazy. It was probably one of the roughest mosh pits I've ever been in, but I still managed to just manoeuvre my way to certain players to basically just say like thank you kind of thing. But it was amazing. And then I sort of left the ruckus and went to go and find Mum, and she'd already gone off, and I was sort of like, why on earth have you gone off already? I was like, come back on. So I sort of just got the police who were sort of guarding it to like help my mum get back on, and then we went and had a picture in the goal, which was really nice. Again, just like lovely to be able to sort of share that moment with her. And then rather than climbing back over the barrier, we sat just at the side of the pitch, sat against like the advertising board, waited for the crowds to clear so the players could come out again and celebrate and lift that second place trophy. But yeah, pitch invasion wise and just like the way it was all conducted, it was all absolutely perfect, like literally a perfect way to end a perfect season. Well, it would have been a perfect season if we beat Norwich at least once. That's the only blemish in my mind, but honestly, I would lose 20-0 to Norwich in both games if it meant we still got promoted. I don't really care now, and they are somewhat informed, but I don't think they'll go up via the playoffs. Famous last words. I don't think my heart could cope a derby in the Premier League. But yeah, just honestly, truly, absolutely unbelievable. I keep thinking about things that get me excited. All of next season, I am having 3 Ipswich players in my starting fantasy team, no matter what. I don't care. We're going to ship in so many goals next season. I'm going to collect Premier League stickers, Ipswich match attacks. Oh my gosh, like there's so many cool things that are going to add to the experience of being in that Premier League. And I'm already excited for travelling up and down the country and ticking off some amazing stadiums. I've always said I want to see Ipswich in the Premier League at least one season before I die, and here I am 26 years old and we're already there. It's crazy. And I know a lot of people will say, oh, you're going straight back down, but a lot of those people have never seen us play, and I know Burnley played lovely football and whatnot, and yeah, maybe we will go back down, but I generally don't think we will. I think we might finish 17th. I think we recruited so well in League One. We recruited amazingly for the Championship. I generally think we'll do the same for the Prem and just play our football. Yes, we'll concede a lot of goals because that's the way we play, but I think we'll score a lot as well. And even if we do get relegated, the club, our club, my club, is just on such upward trajectory that I think if we did get relegated, we'd just bounce back up again or just continue progressing. Like, go back to 6 or 7 years ago, like, we wanted our owners to sell, and the club was just, the stadium was in disrepair. There was just a bit of a the ceiling of Ipswich is just massive. Like, I see no reason why, with the right investment moving forward, we could replicate what Brentford have done, what Brighton have done, maybe even Villa. Like, why not? Ipswich used to be a European team. Who says they couldn't be? Look, maybe we'll get relegated next season. I personally won't care. We can finish rock bottom with no wins next year. Hopefully it doesn't happen. But I'd still just relish and love the experience of being in the Prem. So when people say, "Oh, we're going straight back down," us Ipswich fans were like, "Oh, okay, cool. I'd rather be in it and go down than not in it at all." So, but yeah, just truly a remarkable, amazing season to build on the amazing season we had the year before. So yeah, I think that's it. That was my little emotional ramble story time about Ipswich Town this season. Let me know who you support down below, and be good to have a footy chat. Like I said, the olden days of the channel. So my friends, that is going to do it for this video. I really hope you did enjoy it. If you did, please leave a like and subscribe if you're new. And until the next video, everybody,